Well, I'm 20 minutes late this morning. Constance and I both had a pretty restless night. And to tell you the truth, I wasn't even sure that I was going to be coming on this morning. And I may not make it very long. Uh, we are both feeling under the weather, coughing a lot. I seem to be not getting worse. Okay, and Constance is also kind of holding her own, and but we're pretty damn miserable. It's not COVID and it's not the flu, so it's some other kind of bug that we've got. Um, I wrap myself all up in masks and stuff to even try to go down to the coffee shop. I made it there and back this morning, but I was pretty slow because this thing has a lot of body bone aches and this miserable shit, whatever this is. Anyway, um, now that I'm feeling miserable already, let's talk about the Hanged Man. Now, in older decks, it was called the Drowned Man in some decks. Okay, and it is. Let's see here. It is the Hebrew letter Mem, which is water, and there's the water elemental sign there in the trim of this card. And it looks pretty blue and everything else. Supposedly, that's Frida Harris's kind of version of the elemental tablet of water. Um, Extremely stylized. Uh, and there's a good example of her not wanting to deal with painting faces that Crowley sort of chastised her for in a couple letters. Now, we're not sure what's in back of him. At first, I thought it was sort of an Egyptian nemes, the headpiece that pharaohs wear, and but it might be that he's just got his head stuck in a bowl of water. I don't know, but I'm going to read what I wrote about the Hanged Man card in Understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot. And if I can get through it today, that will, I'll be a lucky man. Okay. It's Atu 12, the Hanged Man. Title is The Spirit of the Mighty Waters. Now, Mem is, I'm digressing, Mem is one of the three mother letters of the Hebrew alphabet. Mem stands for primitive air and the sea. Aleph, which is primitive air. And Sheen is primitive fire. Aleph, Mem, Sheen. And they're pretty important Hebrew letters because they're the letters that actually create three-dimensional space. If I always repeat this over and over again, but it's so important. If you would take the inscrutable Saturn, say the universe card, and you would put it in your pocket, and then imagine a line going infinitely upwards and downwards at the same time, that's Aleph. And if you, with that Saturn universe in your pocket, if you imagine yourself expanding from that center and going infinitely east and west, that would be Mem, Hebrew letter Mem, or the Hanged Man. And then if you imagine a red light ray beaming out of your in your pocket Saturn and going north and south, that would be Sheen. So can you see that the mother letters are really fundamentally important to at least the illusionary world that we're in? But I digress. It's the elemental trump of water, and the original design, the figure of a hanged or crucified man, from a gallows shaped like the letter Daleth. Daleth. Hangs by one foot a young fair man. His other leg forms a cross with a suspended one. His arms, clasped behind his head, form an upright triangle, and this radiates light. His mouth is absolutely closed. Now you can see that Lady Harris's version, he forms a triangle by stretching his arms out like in the sign of Apophis and Typhon almost. Instead of his arms, the palms of his hands being under his head to form that triangle. But it's a triangle nonetheless, a triangle surmounted by a cross. The Hebrew letter is Mem, which stands for water. On the tree of life is path 23, and it joins Geburah, that's number 5 over there on the, when you're facing the tree, it's on the left side of the tree. It's number 5, and it connects number 8 directly below it. So it looks kind of cool, because when you look at a tarot card tree of life, you see that hanged man in that sort of vertical cool position, in that vertical path joining 5 and 8. Okay. The colors are deep blue, sea green, deep olive green, white, flecked purple. And then here's a quote from Crowley's mnemonic. Let not the water whereon thou journeyest wet thee, and being come to shore, plant thou the vine, and rejoice without shame. Now, if you've gone to Sunday school, you know that that's in reference to when Noah, who saved the family and all life on the ark, which floated on the water. Okay. After he had done that and the water receded, he took his family out and took possession of the muddy land. It must have been quite a sight, if there was a sight to see. And then he planted a vineyard. He planted grapes. First thing he did, alfalfa? No. Rice? No. Wheat? No. Grapes. He planted grapes. And the second those grapes came to fruit, he squashed them up and made wine and got shit-faced drunk. This is in the Bible, it actually says. King James Bible. His face was shattered. I think that's how it's said. So, let not the waters whereon thou journeyest wet thee, and being come to shore, plant thou the vine, and rejoice without shame. The without shame is he got so shit-faced he got naked. And which was, I guess, a big taboo to have your kids see you naked, because there's all sorts of other stuff going on in that digression. But anyway, now, Lady Harris wrote to Crowley in the fall of 1939 and said, because I think this was she was wrapping up the project, kind of with this card, it appears. We will finish, like Alice, through the looking glass, by having the whole pack in our heads. Good night. She wrote that to him. And he wrote back, I have long foreseen the Alice in Wonderland conclusion of our labors, but that, if you remember, was the signal for the awakening to the beauty of life in the Alice in Wonderland story. Okay. To paraphrase what I said concerning the Hierophant, or Atu, the Hierophant, Atu 12 is not your aeon of Osiris's hanged man. Neither is it the hanged man of the aeon of Isis. Crowley makes tremendous attempts to explain why this is so in the Book of Thoth. Please don't misunderstand me. I mean no disrespect when I use the words attempt to explain. And I'm certainly not suggesting that I could explain these things any better. It's just clear to me that before Crowley sat down to write his commentary on this card, he must have swallowed a handful of, and this is all hyphenated, he swallowed a handful of, I think I will try to explain the innermost secrets of life and all the mysteries of high magic and the universe in general, pills. He gives it a pretty good try. He even offers us several very revealing paragraphs concerning the most profound secrets of sexual alchemy and magic that, for those who are interested in those subjects, will certainly be worth further study and meditation. And I refer you to chapter 11 of this book. Perhaps the reason, excuse me, he apparently goes so far afield in his comments is that he believed that the hanged man, as historically and traditionally understood, is now obsolete in the new aeon. I said the hanged man. He didn't say mem, or the element of water, okay, or the 1/3 of the mother letters of the Hebrew alphabet. He just said the hanged man. In fact, he tells us to regard it as an evil legacy from the old aeon and goes on to compare it rather unflatteringly with the appendix in the human body. But we all know the appendix is important. This card, this is quoting Crowley, this card is beautiful in a strange, immemorial, moribund manner. It is the card of the dying god. Its importance in the present pack is merely that of the cenopath. Now, a cenopath, instead of an epitaph, okay, is a tombstone message, okay, or what's put on a tombstone or a grave marker. But a cenopath is a tombstone where the body is buried someplace else. It's a memorial stone where the body is born someplace else or has been vaporized or dissolved in ecstasy somewhere. Okay. DuQuette goes on to explain. A cenopath is a tomb or a monument erected to honor the person whose actual body is buried somewhere else. Be that as it may, he goes on to give us a very good Aeon of Horus interpretation of the hanged man, and highlights of which, even though I don't have any ITIWTTEISOLATMOHMATUIG pills, I will try to summarize. First, observe that the arms and legs of our crucified hero make the figure of a cross surmounting a triangle. Crowley tells us that this symbolizes the descent of light into the darkness in order to redeem it. It is nothing less than the cosmic sacrifice that creates, sustains, and destroys the universe. Our perception of how we are a part of this grand sacrifice has evolved over the aeons. The sacrifice meant one thing to our ancestors in the aeon of Isis, another thing to the aeon of Osiris, and now we shall see it means something altogether different in the present aeon of Horus. If for some reason you have not read that chapter on that, I tell you to go back and read that right now. Crowley identifies the aeon of Isis with the element water. This was an age when it was universally perceived that human life came from woman alone. The sacrifice was made by the woman on the altar of her own body, and the hanged man was for the unborn baby who floated upside down in the water of the womb just prior to birth. Pray for me. The aeon of Osiris is identified with the aeon of Osiris is identified with the element air, which is sympathetic to both water and fire. Therefore, in the aeon of Osiris, the sacrifice was one of compromise. This was the age of the dying god, when a guy just couldn't be a real savior unless he first came out of the water, baptized, and then compromised his own body by allowing himself to be tortured, murdered, then hung or nailed to a tree to redeem the lives of his people. A couple of thousand years ago, this selfless gesture was a big step forward in spiritual politeness. As a matter of fact, for the aeon of Osiris, it became the supreme formula of adeptship, expressed by INRIEAO. See chapter 8. Oh no, how many more pages do I have here? I don't know if I'll be able to do it. Let's see. Oh yeah, I will. The aeon of Horus is identified with the element fire, represented by the Hebrew letter Shin and the aeon trump. In the aeon of Horus, the water of the hanged man and the fire of the aeon don't get along at all. In this aeon, Crowley warns, quote, "The whole idea of sacrifice is a misconception of the nature, is a misconception of nature," unquote. The gesture of sacrificial suicide is not only obsolete, it's downright counterproductive. And here's Crowley's quote. "But now, under the fiery lord of the aeon, the watery element, so far as water is below the abyss, is definitely hostile, unless the opposition is the right opposition implied in marriage." Do I hear a bless me? Bless you, Lon. I may have to do that again before this paragraph's over. As a matter of fact, here it comes. The marriage he's talking about is the annihilation of the self with the beloved. This is symbolized in the card by the Ankh. There's the Ankh. Okay. Let's see. The union of the rose and cross of the male and female. This is the devotional ecstasy that dissolves all sense of separateness that I wrote about in chapter 11. This marriage, as mystics and saints of every age and culture have tried to tell us, is the supreme sacrifice. The hanged man of the Thoth Tarot still symbolizes the descent of light into darkness in order to redeem it. But the word redeem is no longer implies an existing debt that needs to be repaid. Instead, redemption in the Aeon of Horus is the noble duty of the enlightened to bring enlightenment to the unenlightened. Please note how Lady Harris ingeniously uses projective geometry to link the card with the other water-related cards. Try placing the Hanged Man top to top with the High Priestess and the Queen of Cups. See that semicircle at the top there? That fits absolutely perfect head to head with the Queen of Cups and the High Priestess. Other items of interest include her stylized Enochian tablets in the background and her use of the color green to inject Venusian influence. And remember, in the old decks, the Hanged Man hung from a gallows that was in the shape of the Hebrew letter Taleph, which is Venus. Whew, I did it. Tomorrow's Saturday morning cartoons. I'm going to save my breath, save my voice until tomorrow, when I hope Constance and I both will be just a little bit better, if not a lot better. So until tomorrow, continue to be good to yourself, be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.